Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final Hadeda Insights episode of the year. We will help financial advisors find the right tech without becoming completely overwhelmed. Today, we're ending off the year with an important conversation. ProfileMe was voted #1 industry-specific tool in our AdviceTech survey in 2025, ranking highest amongst both advisors and enterprises. It's quickly become the gold standard for digital advisor presence in South Africa, and today we're unpacking exactly why. Joining us is Rizanne Oosthuisen-Botha, CEO of ProfileMe, to explore what makes the platform so powerful, both at an enterprise scale and for individual advisors looking to elevate their professionalism, credibility, and importantly, digital identity. We'll unpack the enterprise story, the advisor story, and then dive into something a little bigger: what clients actually care about and what they don't. What truly builds loyalty and trust in 2025 and beyond. So, Rizanne, welcome. Thank you. It's so good to have you with us.
Thank you, Matthew. It's great to be here.
Rizanne, for the listeners who maybe have not heard of ProfileMe, would you describe what ProfileMe does in one sentence?
I would say ProfileMe is the digital front door between advisor and client, and it turns advisor-client moments into real, meaningful interactions, trust actions, conversions, sparking conversations. So digital front door with meaningful interaction.
Well, look, it's difficult to sum anything up in one sentence. So we just wanted to whet the appetite and then go a little bit deeper into what exactly you guys are doing and what problems you're solving. So ProfileMe ranked #1 in our AdviceTech survey. What do you think resonated most with advisors and enterprises?
I think with both of them, and we see it in the survey as well. Also for the second year, ease of adoption is a big one. And I think for advisors, ease of adoption is a real pain point. And I think all technology providers should be paying attention and heed to that. To onboard onto a tech platform, if you've got a book of, anything between 250 to 1,000 clients, it's not an easy process. It's an incredibly painful process, which is also why we're in the industry getting all of that resistance towards, people going off legacy systems. It's just because it's so painful to go onto something new. I think essence for us, where we see the ease of adoption is that we took a really complex problem. For the individual advisor, running a website, updating a website, running a digital presence, keeping that updated. If you go into the nuts and bolts of it, it is a massive pain. You've got to deal with a web developer that's either reliable or not reliable. It's inconsistent. You've got a domain. You don't know where it is. Somebody else registered it for you. We've seen so many issues around just that, getting yourself online on individual basis. Now, if you look at that at scale for enterprise, now, for them to run an engine like that internally, that's massive amount of, resources that they've got to allocate towards it. And typically in any big dev pipeline within an enterprise, something like that's going to be at the end. Systems come first. These are nice to haves. So just to maintain such a engine, it is a massive pain. And I think a lot of the times, because the problem, it's multifaceted, you've got the branding side, you've got the compliance side, you've got the, what do we communicate side, you've actually got to deliver a product, through what you're displaying there. And I think the problem is just too many nuts and bolts to manage. And what we've done is that we've built an engine and on the back end, all the nuts and bolts are there, but we've made it the way it's deployed. It's really simple to understand. It's really simple to use. It's really simple to onboard. There isn't all of those nitty-gritties that you have to worry about in terms of compliance and, making sure that everything's in line. We take care of all of that. So I think we deployed a very simple solution for a complex problem that's easy to adopt.
I think that's important because when you become an advisor, you don't expect to have to deal with all of these other things that take your attention away from your core focus. So I think it's important to know that there's support out there that takes these painful processes off our backs and then allows advisors to just focus on what they're really good at, and that's advising and delivering financial advice. So listen, Let's just talk a little bit about this digital presence. Why is that becoming a non-negotiable for advisors?
I think in the day and age that we are, very few people would not have looked at you online before they engage with you. It's just the way it is. We see it on the analytics on our back end, how and this is over 2 million plus interactions, how actual consumers behave. And what they click on the most is the About Me sections. Who are you? And then second, testimonials, social proof. Who are you? Can I trust you? That's it. There's obviously other stuff as well, but those are the two main focuses where people are clicking on, and that just says to us that you've got to have some form of credibility online. Now, there's various flavors of how to go about that. We're obviously one of them. Where the wheel breaks, if I can put it like that, what do consumers, one, care about, and two, what do consumers have to verify you? If you're going to give me a phone call and you're stuck with a line that's bad, or say you've just entered the industry and you don't know how to narrate what you're trying to say to me very well, that is what that is the first impression. That's what I can judge you on. If you're going to send me an email and it doesn't resonate with me, or something went wrong, that is what I've got to judge you on. You're going to send me a static PDF that makes me read an essay. That is a judgment call. So I think in terms of showing up online, why it is so important is the fact that people expect you to be online. If you're running a business these days, if you're a professional and if you're a professional service provider, you should be able to put your credibility online. If you can't do that, there's a problem in our minds. That is the one thing. And I think the other one is that things just move so fast. I don't have time to go and take the coffee with you without knowing, it's going to be a sure match. So we're already doing that anyways. And I think it's just the way that things have evolved. And I think the advisors that get that are doing, that are putting the effort into their digital presences, does get that it is purely to make the way forward easier. In one go, with a good digital presence, you get to communicate who you are, what you do, who you do it for, who you do not do it for. All of those wonderful things, which would easily be an hour conversation. You can get that over to the client in one go. They can see it. Great. Awesome. You're the person. Perfect match. Set the meeting. And all of the sundries, I want to call it, is out of the way. And when you do meet, it's just about building relationship. You can ask about family. Instead of having to sit there and narrate all your credentials, that part is already out of the way.
And let's be honest, in the world we live in, things are fast-paced. We need information that is well wrapped up, well packaged, and available to us so that we can be efficient to make our decisions. So that sounds incredible. We're going to look at, obviously, what ProfileMe does at an enterprise level and also how the engagement is with advisors. So starting with the enterprise view, what problems does ProfileMe solve for large FSPs and advisor ecosystems?
Yeah, so when we just came into the industry, there was a huge problem with advisors going off, I want to say, script, doing their own websites and wanting to build their own brands. And you've got, PDFs and flyers and all kinds of things coming out. And as an enterprise, that's a massive problem because it puts you at massive risk. And there is a huge compliance problem there with that specifically. Now, to manage that across an advisor force of 1,000 to 3,000 strong becomes even more unmanageable. It's literally, you've got to have a whole department just for that. But on the other flip side, if you look at the way the model of the industry works, is that the advisors are expected to run themselves as entrepreneurs. They themselves are responsible for earning their income. They're not salary wages. So they're entrepreneurial entities expected to run like entrepreneurs, but not giving the tools that they need to. But it's not that, they don't want to. It's a massive compliance issue. All in all, for enterprises, that is really where we come in, where we are able to provide a solution that advisors not only love, it has actual results. Clients love it too. And you've got consistent branding across the ecosystem and consistent compliance across the ecosystem as well. I will talk in a traditional sense. If you look at how you've got a company website. Let's say, you're a large bank or a large insurer, you've got the company website. And the company website typically was always the holy grail. Just refer back to the company website. But advisors don't like that, because if you refer back to the company website, there's other advisors there. So it doesn't serve the advisor-client moment at all. And there needed to be something a little bit more personal than the company website. Back to the enterprise level, looking at how much, money they have to spend and how much they actually need to do to get traction towards that website is actually quite a lot. And in terms of ad spend on all of those types of stuff. But if you look at your employee force and you've got like one company website, you've got 10,000 employees, and say each 10,000 employees had a sub mini website that's a version of the company website that is branded on themselves. Now you've got proper distribution. You've got 10,000, each having about, say, 500 people in their phone contact list. At any given time, they can put it on WhatsApp status, they can put it on their socials. It's already compliant. We've established that, everything is in line. Now you've got a much bigger force in terms of distribution to take your brand forward. And I think that's a massive win for enterprises. There isn't a lot of emotion towards a company website. There's nothing really there. There's no feels there. With advisor microsites, there's an actual person. I can see that you like golf, or I can see, where we might be a good fit. I can see some of what other people say about you. I can see some of the good deeds or social responsibility stuff that you do. And I think it gives enterprises such a big opportunity to not only showcase their brand, but showcase their culture. And culture is what people buy into. When there's shared values, that's where loyalty follows. And I think that is where the huge opportunity lies.
You've touched on it a lot about consistency. And I mean, if there's anything left to say, I mean, how important is consistency and brand alignment at that enterprise level?
If I speak from an enterprise level, it will be purely on compliance. Consistency equals compliance equals no fines, or other types of things that might arise. And it is an issue. So I think consistency in brand, consistency in signaling is from a brand strategy perspective, is one of the most powerful mechanisms any brand can deploy, especially if they can deploy it at scale to pull a brand forward. If I look at the industry, honestly, I must say, there are some brands that do really well or gets it done really well. But if I have to look at the whole ecosystem coming from outside as a creative into the industry, I would say there's not a lot. You've got to do a couple of things, but it's not a big stretch to win. And I think it's just a couple of small things that can really make a very powerful impact in how people are going to see our organization at scale. I always talk about, it's about making clients fall in love with their advisors. And how does that happen? And, why are we part of that journey? And it is making people fall in love with a brand. And a lot of that's got to do with how you show up. It's got to do with trust, and it's got to do with signaling and consistency.
So on the enterprise side, what does enterprise grade mean practically in terms of security, compliance, and scalability?
Well, for us, a lot of headaches. For the enterprise, less headaches. In terms of us being enterprise ready, obviously we've got to be able to intake thousands of advisors in a very short period of time, get them socialized, get them up and running, all of that. On an enterprise level, it's being well-versed and ready to go on a vendor onboarding. Vendor onboardings obviously are typically, a long process, especially if you're a tech provider and you're dealing with data. You're dealing with data, and you've got PPIA, you've got GDPR, you've got the FSCA's joint communication on offshoring. So you've got to take all of these into account. And there really isn't one tick box that you can't miss. All of the enterprises, by law, they need to be able to tick all of the boxes. You as a vendor, doesn't matter how small you are, you need to tick all of those as well. So from our side, it's a massive ton of compliance and governance that we've got to make sure that we always have in place, because we're dealing with data in this industry, so that the enterprise doesn't get into a sticky spot or anything like that. From our side, I would say enterprise grade, you've got the product layer, and then you've got the compliance and governance layer and all of those things. And that's an engine on its own. And obviously it takes tons of money, tons of resources for us to make sure that that engine runs with that. And I think if we, in the category that we are, typically something like that is not that something that other vendors bring into their product, because it's expensive, it's difficult, it's complicated. But that is just something that we've operated like that from the start. And it's grown and grown. And the more enterprise ready we are, the quicker we can onboard, better for everybody else. So enterprise grade, we've definitely tried doing that. In terms of enterprise, just controls. Imagine you let loose 1,000 websites at enterprise level, plus the user can log in and do a couple of things. It's a nightmare. So for enterprise level clients, we've got rigid control dashboards at the back where they can control what the users are going to be uploading. There's an approval system built in to make sure that nothing goes live to the internet before it has been signed off. But once it's signed off, it's we've made the process very seamless. So it doesn't sit in a backlog for 3 months being updated. It's literally a weekly thing, and the engine can run smoothly. On enterprise grade, enterprise analytics, obviously that's gold. It's like I said, over 2 million interactions. To see on an enterprise grade level what consumers are actually clicking on is a huge, huge bonus. The engine that we've built there is very much built enterprise ready. Of course, we welcome everybody to our system.
So I think you've explained the problems that you guys fix. You've explained the importance of actually solving those problems. Let's get practical. Can you share an example of an enterprise that saw meaningful improvement after rolling out ProfileMe?
Yeah. I can name 2 examples. I can't name names, but we had an enterprise coming to us, and these are real world examples actually, and it proves the point too. They were implementing advisor websites internally. Now they got to we're talking 3,000 advisors. They got to about site number 100. Already the system wasn't being updated by internal. Internal couldn't keep updating or deploying. The ones that onboarded first was already 3 months behind in getting their new updates. So that wheel just wasn't going to work internally. They outsourced it to us as a white label. It still runs under their ecosystem, but now they've got all of the advisors on and the wheel runs smoothly. So in terms of the time, money, and friction we've saved within the organization, that's an absolutely huge win. And obviously there's real interactions, real engagement, real business, and real relationships building from the solution. Another example would be from another enterprise. They were going to take out PDFs. This is my personal PDF. That was their digital solution. So you can WhatsApp the PDF. I think they got to PDF 50 and the wheel also break. The big problem there is, what are you going to do with your clients? So now you've got a new qualification. Do you send them, ignore the previous PDFs that I sent? Here's my new PDF. And every time it updates, you just push out the new PDF. And that's going to become confusing. I mean, you need one single source of truth where everything is there. And if something updates, it updates there. You don't have to constantly look for the new one. So we onboard them and also created a new solution, a digital solution for this PDF problem that they had. And we've seen some really great success from the enterprise rollouts that we've had. One specifically, we help them run campaigns, for instance, during World's Month. ProfileMe does have a lead capturing tool on the front end, so a consumer can say, I need you to contact me because I want to draft a will or whatever it is. They ran a simple campaign. So the campaign is, you put on your WhatsApp status, need a will or don't have a will. That's awkward. I can help. Click on the link below and let me know. Fill in the form. So from the submissions that they've had there, they had 100% conversion or fulfillment on the submissions that they've had there. We typically, with a form that's submitted, people aren't always sure they're doing it, but then they go into a different direction later. And I think the success there is because literally, if they're on a profile, the advisor's face is there, and a consumer is sitting there, they know who they're doing it to. They know exactly why they're doing. The intent is much higher. That is why the fulfillment is so exponentially successful. And we've seen it across other lead campaigns as well, although it's not like masses and masses of leads, but still 100% fulfillment is a lot better than masses of leads with a low rate of fulfillment.
Rizanne, I want to take a trip now to the advisor view and take it from that perspective. What does ProfileMe change immediately for an individual advisor?
It's like confidence in how they show up. I think for any professional to have the peace of mind that they're showing up to their client in a way that is their best possible foot forward, and also is in a way that the client can feel that this advisor has really taken my concerns to heart and he's put forward a solution that is a really solid and trustworthy solution. I think that does a lot in terms of the relationship. If a professional can show respect towards a client and saying like, I created this for you, my client, because I value you, that does a lot for the relationship. It's just in terms of how they show up, and then how they show up when they're not there. Because referrals is another thing, referrals happen. Referrals are awkward because you need to now, as a consumer, come up with a narrative of why you must do business with this person. And, it's just, I have to put my reputation on the line for your reputation. It's an awkward scenario. Typically, there hasn't been a good tool for this. And again, you show up in your client's life with your ProfileMe. You will see your ProfileMe show up in your client's friend's life via the referral, because now they've got a tool that makes it easier for them to explain who you are and what you do and all of those things. So I think definitely in terms of showing up consistently, just making that trust connection.
Yeah, I think when it comes to referrals, I think the advisor's ears are going to pick up because that's important. So just basically you're saying having a good digital front door that you're proud to share definitely is going to boost the ability for client referrals.
Definitely.
Just on the advisor front, the last thing, just from that side, any success stories? People love to hear a success story. Any success stories from advisors regarding their growth, the engagement, and the trust that they've experienced?
Yeah, a few. We unfortunately don't always get the metrics, the exact metrics. Two that I can share is from an advisor called Colin. So he's got a system in which he distributes his ProfileMe, and then he tracks the business that comes back from that. He reported in 2024 that he got just under 600,000 in commission from ProfileMe interactions alone. I think it was 28 new business cases. So for new business, that's really amazing. There's an advisor that QR coded a branch. So he's got his ProfileMe, and his ProfileMe comes with a QR code. So he went into a bank branch in Eisner, and he put a QR code at every consultant's desk. His QR code is there. At the tellers, the QR code is there. And he did a whole thing with all of the staff at the branch to explain to them, okay, if you want to refer me, have them scan the QR code and XYZ, and he had everybody on board now, and all of the QR codes are out. So I just get a video from just this branch's QR coded. And 2 days later, within 2 days, we get feedback that he did a 20 million investment, a 10 million investment, 10 new wills, and 5 new life clients. 2 days.
That's incredible. That's incredible. You put it quite interesting earlier. You said something about clients falling in love with advisors, and I want to explore that a little bit more. So in your opinion, what truly makes clients fall in love with their advisor?
I think trust and safety. Trust, safety, consistency. I will fall in love with you if you're consistently in my orbit. And I know that I can trust you. I'm confident in the skills that you have is the right skills for the problems that I have, and that you are listening to my problems. So you're at least in the orbit. For clients, it's what advisors think makes clients fall in love, and what clients what actually makes them fall in love is very two different things. And I always come from a consumer perspective. I'm not a trained financial advisor. I try not to know too much about the nuts and bolts of how it all works specifically together. General knowledge is enough, but from a consumer perspective, I think um, just consistently staying in their orbit and knowing that you truly have their best interest at heart is one of the biggest things. We always talk about having a staying in touch strategy, all of those types of things. It's definitely something that advisors should look at. Big thing for a consumer is the way you show up for them is going to make them fall in love with you. If you show up inconsistently, if you show up badly and fragmented, you're not gonna build that bond. It's all about building the bond. And you need tools for that. You need the right tools for that.
Well, I think these are some great tips on advisor behaviors that is going to matter most next year, looking into 2026, and some new priorities for some advisors listening. It'll be great to get in touch with you, I'm sure, to find out exactly how more you can help them. So just looking ahead for you guys, what's next for ProfileMe in 2026?
We are funneling down on our enterprise offering. So we're definitely going into some enhancements on making the enterprise offering even more scalable and more easier to adapt and white label. So on that side, and then on the other side, we are funneling down on trust. So definitely all of those things that are going to make those trust moments happen, that is going to make it easier to build that, and anything to do with, keeping yourself in your client's orbit consistently is very much our focus for the next year.
I think you've kind of answered it, but if there's anything else you want to add, what advisors should be prioritizing now to stay relevant next year?
Can definitely speak to a trend that I see that's out there. And I think possibly it's a different question, though. It's about what advisors think clients care about and what clients actually care about. And a big trend that we see is social media. There's a big perception that you've got to be visible on social media. You've got to be active there. Your client expects it. And that is where you're going to get your credibility. To a degree, yes. I'm not saying, horses for courses. I'm not saying it's not that. But how much does your client actually care whether you did the post or whether you did the effort to get in touch with them personally on a lifestyle, on a milestone event? Two different things. And we see it in the data as well. If you look at all of the clicks that we can track online, 16% of the clicks that we can actually track online that happens in public spaces, it's only 16%. So imagine an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is a 16%. This is the stuff that we see on social media, on LinkedIn. And obviously for advisors, LinkedIn is a huge thing, spending lots of time, lots of resources, and lots of money there. But it's only 16% of the picture. 4% of all referrals, word of mouth referrals, actual calls, I want to do business with you, WhatsApps, all of those things that we can't track, that happens in dark social. We call it dark social because we can't see the analytics, where where the needle is actually moved. And I think for advisors, one thing to really focus on is that there's a lot of resources going to the top 16%, but not a lot of strategy or resources going on how you're going to manage this whole 84% of things happening. You've got to have tools for that. For them going into the new, I would definitely have a look at how are you staying, I'm going to say this over and over, how are you staying in your client's orbit? And I want to say directly, not indirectly via social media. How are you staying in your client's orbit directly, at least once a quarter?
Amazing. Rizanne, thank you so much for joining us and for closing out the year with such an insightful conversation. So ProfileMe's rise to the #1 rated industry tool in South Africa isn't just about great tech. It's what I've understood from the conversation. It's about elevating the professionalism of the entire advice industry and giving advisors the digital credibility that they need to build trust, deepen their relationships, and grow sustainably. If you're an advisor or enterprise leader watching this, explore ProfileMe on the Hadeda marketplace. If you want a clearer view of your tech stack, run a free tech check on hadeda.co.za. Thank you for joining us for our final Hadeda Insights episode of the year. New interviews do drop monthly, so please do subscribe, follow us on LinkedIn, and keep building the tech stack your business deserves the DIY way. We'll see you in 2026 with more interviews, more tools, and more clarity for South African financial advisors. Thank you.
Thank you.